I think truth will speak for itself. I don't have time to try and pretend to believe something that's not true. If Jesus is not the way and he's not the truth, I'm happier moving on with my life than trying to make it true. If he is the way and he is the truth though, and he is alive, then that changes everything. That's why I started this podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew Ramon Show. I'm so happy that you've tuned in. It's a little weird that I've said that intro basically 100 times by now because today's a special episode. We're celebrating 100 episodes. Can you believe that? 100. So if you're just tuning in maybe in the morning in your car or while you're washing the dishes or you're running an errand or something, you tuned in for the perfect episode because it is quite the special one. I mean, one, we're talking a little bit about the podcast itself. It's, we always go deep every single episode. There's always some type of takeaway, and you want to stick around till the very end because we're doing our giveaway. You could win these amazing AirPods. Boom, 3rd generation, the newest in store. Get them now. Restrictions apply. All those giveaways. Yeah, we're gonna announce the winner at the end. So you want to stick throughout the whole entire thing. Man, to be honest with you, of course, this is a celebration of the show. It's a celebration of the hard work I put in, but really it's also a celebration of you, the listener, the watcher. Why? Because you are part of this. I mean it. If this is your first time, then thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're an OG, dude, we've gone through a lot, haven't we? I mean, it's been basically 2 years, 100 episodes. We've gone through a pandemic, 4 different set configurations in this show, over 40 hours of content, 15 different interviews we've done. I mean, it's been quite the journey, and you've been part of it. Honestly, this really wouldn't have been possible without you. I know that's usually what creators say, right? God, I just want to thank everybody. This wouldn't have been possible without you. I truly mean it. Because without you listening, well, why would I be creating things that no one would ever listen to, right? So I want to thank you for that. And I want to be honest with you too. It's looking back, if I encourage you to follow me on Instagram because I always post some type of content there almost every day or every other day for the show, and some behind the scenes or just some cool videos and clips that you can see there. And I did a montage, basically a 10-second montage of every single episode, and it brought a little bit of nostalgia because this time has gone by so fast. I can't believe we've done so many episodes. We've never missed even 1 week. For 100 episodes, we've never missed a week. Rain or shine, new episodes every Monday. You can count on that. I mean, God willing, right? I think every creator can maybe relate with or acknowledge that whenever we celebrate these moments, we can kind of reflect on all the process and acknowledge that there are moments when you really wonder if what you're doing is really making any difference. If there's anyone listening, right? I mean, you create something, you're always looking at analytics, right? Okay, how many people listen? How many people are viewing? Are people sharing this? Are people reacting? And you can kind of get your head stuck in the weeds a little bit. And that's been kind of part of this process too. It's been learning about hitting the grind even when you're not seeing all the results that you've wanted to see. There are weeks when I don't really feel like recording anything, to be honest with you, or have no idea what to record on. But that's when I need to be reminded of why, right? I need to be reminded of the why, because the why affects your what and affects your how. It really affects everything. The why of the reason that I started this podcast. And maybe it's a good time to remind you as a listener or watcher if you've never really heard the story. Since my parents began pastoring a church several years ago, I was basically thrown into the ministry at a young age. I mean, I've mentioned this before and talked about it in several episodes. I was the kid that took care of kids. I remember in our Wednesday night services, if you're a minister, you can probably relate with this. I was that 12-year-old, 13-year-old taking care of 10-year-olds, right? And that was basically if someone walked into the room where all the kids were being taken care of, they probably wouldn't see who the teacher is because, hi, it was me, and then some other friends as well. So yeah, I was that kid. I was in childcare, then I went from childcare and I joined the youth, and then I helped leading the youth group, and that's kind of where I'm at. And all the while, you're being a pastor's kid, which being a pastor's kid, you kind of become the example of people, right? For the good or for the bad. People naturally look at the pastor's family as an example of how people should behave or what a good family should look like. So consequently, there's pressure, right? There's pressure for pastors' kids to perform, to pretend, to be perfect. And as I've shared in this show before, I really saw that pressure as an opportunity. I knew that I'm not perfect, and I definitely will never be perfect, and I have a lot of things to work on. But if the spotlight's on me, then why not use that spotlight to kind of reflect it on Jesus? I knew that I couldn't be an example if I wasn't authentic. So I chose to take my faith seriously. I was afraid of the big questions in my faith. I grew up in a Christian home. You can imagine that all my Christian beliefs I basically took for granted. I never got challenged necessarily of why I believed what I believe, of why I think that God existed, of why I thought the Bible was true, of why I thought that Jesus was the only way, of blah, 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 blah. I never was challenged, right? It was all kind of one bubble. I'm not complaining. That's just the way I grew up. Maybe you have a similar story, or maybe you're completely the opposite. You've never stepped on inside of a church. Totally fine, because as you will find throughout this podcast, this is kind of the right place for you. It's a place that we go deep on questions that are worth asking, in conversations that are worth having. So that was me. I was afraid of the big questions. How do I really know that God exists? I mean, am I making him up? Is he really just a fairy tale? Does science deny the existence of God? Does it make it completely improbable where really God becomes useless now? Does science explain everything? Am I just a Christian because of the environment that I grew up in? Because I grew up in a quote-unquote Christian home? Or what really makes Jesus unique out of everyone? What makes him different? Is he on the same shelf than Buddha, Muhammad, and any other teacher that came to show us a way to eternal life, a way to pure morality, or whatever the case may be, or whatever their claims may be? Is the Bible true? Is the Bible actually real? Is it not fake? Is it not just made up of fairy tales? Is it not full of contradictions? Is the creation story real, or is Darwin's theory of evolution correct? Or is it a mixture of both? Maybe. Is there actually a heaven, a hell? Is there any eternal life? Does it actually matter how we live now? Are moral guidelines just the traditional rules from the church? Yeah, that was overwhelming. That was so many questions. But I can't be the only one that's asked these questions before. Or maybe you've never asked these questions, but someone asked you. Because Christianity is one of those things that you either believe or you don't. The Bible says there is no middle ground. In fact, Jesus spits out the lukewarm. You're either cold and against him, or you're for him. That's quite the big statement. So that was me. Growing up in church, being a pastor's kid, and now kind of saying, oh my gosh, do I really believe all this stuff? Maybe you can relate with these questions. In fact, I know many of you relate with these questions. Why? Because according to a Barna study some years ago, in fact, 4% of Gen Z have a biblical worldview. That's right. You're very familiar with that statistic if you've been listening to the show for a while now. 4% of Gen Z have a biblical worldview. Now, what in fact is a biblical worldview? Well, it's answering all the questions that I just laid out and many more about identity, about origin, about morality, about destiny, about meaning in your life, about sexuality, about gender, the whole thing. Only 4% can answer it from a biblical worldview. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. We explore that throughout this podcast. Millennials, 6% have a biblical worldview. So I know that these questions, I'm not the only one who's wondered about the answer. I'm not the only one who's had doubts. I'm not the only one that's sometimes been to youth group and had no idea what they were talking about or not necessarily believed it. Well, in December of 2017 is when I first began thinking about starting a podcast, which then began about almost 3 years later in March of 2020. I do believe that there are answers available to most of our questions. That's in fact why I started this podcast. Because I saw that according to 1 Peter 3:15, the Bible tells us to be ready to give a defense for our faith. Now, again, you might be listening to this podcast and you're like, well, I'm not really a Christian. It's just kind of, I'm curious, totally fine. I do believe that sometimes we're too quick to label, right? In some sense, that's one of the reasons we don't show our interest in things or our doubt in things. Because if we show our doubt and we're a Christian, people are like, "Oh, are you a doubter? Are you no longer a Christian?" You're like, "Whoa, chill. I just have questions." And maybe you're not a Christian, you're an agnostic, and you kind of have questions about Christianity. And because there's interest, people automatically kind of label you a Christian, and you feel like, "Oh man, they just kind of want me part of their group." But this is what this podcast is about, to answer the questions that we have. Because I do believe that there are so many answers that we can count on that are reasonable to the questions that we have. Sometimes there won't be an answer, to be honest with you. And that's okay, because we're not God. We don't have all the answers. But there are many of them. The Bible, as I said, 1 Peter 3:15 tells us to have an answer, actually a defense of the reason that what we believe. Well, many Christians, as you saw, 4% of Gen Z, and I bet that more than 4% go to church, don't have an answer. More than 4%, 96% don't have an answer. They don't have a defense. And I saw too many close friends walk away from their faith or get cold in their faith because of doubts and because of questions. So that's why I started this podcast. Because I want to be very straightforward with you. If Jesus is the truth and he is knowable, then it shouldn't be that complicated. We shouldn't have to make up stuff if he's the truth. St. Augustine once said, "The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose and it will defend itself." I think truth will speak for itself. I don't have time to try and pretend to believe something that's not true. If Jesus is not the way, then I'm happier moving on with my life than trying to make it true. I'll say that again. If Jesus is not the way and he's not the truth, I'm happier moving on with my life than trying to make it true and try to fit a square into a round peg. Not going to happen. If he is the way and he is the truth, though, and he is alive, then that changes everything. That's why I started this podcast. I'm not here to pretend something. You know, it's interesting whenever I've had conversations with folks, and maybe there's sometimes a criticism of one who believes in God or believes in Jesus, as in like, "Oh my gosh, you're really into that?" Or if you just gave it some more thought. As I said, I really don't have time. Why am I going to waste my life trying to pretend something is real when it's not? Bro, if Jesus is not real, then man, I'll be the first one to say nope. But that's the thing. I've done my studying. I've looked into the historicity of the Bible. I've looked into the validity of the Christian faith. If Jesus resurrected, which he did, and there's evidence for that, then it changes everything. And he's not just a person 2,000 years ago, he's someone that you can know today. It's something that I'm super passionate about, because being a Christian should affect every area of your life. It should make you relevant in school, culture, business, everything. Too many times, unfortunately, we have people that label themselves Christians, but really just on Sunday. The rest of the week, it's like if there were no one different than everyone else in the world. But if you're a Christian, then there should be, in fact, something that sets you apart. And I believe that we want that. We want to make a difference. We don't just want to be like everyone else. We, in fact, want to be set apart. We want to make a difference. We want to influence people for good. And that's why I started the podcast. So I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching all the hours, all the minutes spent in listening to this content, because I believe that it blesses me, and I hope that it blesses you. You know, I also want to challenge you. I want to challenge your faith to be honest with your questions. Be honest with your doubts. Face them face first at the very beginning. Don't leave your questions and your doubts later thinking that they'll get resolved no matter what. Sometimes you got to face them. Whether you were raised in church or have never set foot in the church, either way, this show is for you. We're about to read some testimonials, and at the end, don't forget, because I haven't forgotten, the amazing giveaway where you can earn or win these third generation AirPods. Bro, I'm giving you better AirPods than I have, okay? So if you're not grateful for that, I don't know how you're going to be grateful for anything else, okay? Because I don't have these AirPods. Like, I bought these AirPods to give away, and I was like, wait a second. I need these AirPods. That's basically where I'm stuck. All right. So I'm going to read a couple testimonials here of what people have been saying about the show. Josh says, I love that you care about the topics you cover and you take the time to study them. Thank you so much, Josh. Much love to you, man. You're absolutely right. I love studying for topics. If I could show you around my studio right now, you could probably would see a lot of books. People that know me, I do read. Now, there was a time when I read a lot and then I gave it a pause, and now I'm 100% back on it because there's just so much that we can learn by reading and studying. So, man, appreciate you so much. Let's see. Nelly says, this one's short, but it's good. She says, the realness fire emoji. I just try to be real, man. There ain't no use being fake. Like, again, why am I going to be fake? Like, that's emotionally exhausting. Can I just be real with you? Being fake is emotionally exhausting. Like, it's been like this the last 2 years. The last 2 years with COVID has shown us how exhausting it is to wear a face mask. You know, you're always like, oh my gosh, where's my face mask? And then you forget it. And then you're nervous when you don't have it with people and all this stuff. And it's like, that's how it is, man, when we're living a lie. That's how it is when we're fake. It's just overwhelming because we gotta keep up with the story. We gotta keep up with the last thing that we lied to them about. We gotta keep up with the persona that we're pretending to be. Instead, dude, just be real, bro. Like, just be authentic and just be real and let God change you in the ways that He needs to. And it's just all a process. So I appreciate that, Nelly. Thank you so much. Hey, Josiah, what was Josiah saying? He's saying the storytelling and the nuggets of truth. Hey, this is a hint back to the past. I think he might be talking about. So for those that don't know, I used to be a celebrity. I know. Shocked some of you, right? When I said that. I used to be a celebrity. What can I say? My celebrity name, I used to go under a different name, was Joaquin. Oh, man. It was a good project. If you're curious, look up, I can't believe I'm actually saying this in this video, but look up on Instagram or Facebook, The Roman Guys, the Roman ROMAN, like my last name, and then guys, and you will see a little bit of Joaquin in there. But man, I try to make my episodes engaging and, spend a little bit of truth. And I love you guys so much. Hey, don't forget that if you love this show, or if you take something away from this show, then hey, review it, send me a little DM. I'll always get back to you because I just appreciate your support so much. Someone once asked me, what motivates me every day to fulfill my purpose? Might sound cheesy, but it's people. It's you, the person listening, the person watching. Because I love God, I love people. It's just that simple. We overcomplicate things. It's to say you love God, you got to love people. The Bible literally says, like, you cannot say you love God and then hate your brother. Like, that's just is incompatible, okay? It's not going to work. So because I love God, I love people. It's just that simple. The moment I do things for myself, they immediately lose value. It's like a pond. It doesn't go anywhere. We're not meant to be ponds. We're meant to be rivers flowing with living water, not stagnant waters. Maybe that's nugget of truth that maybe you can take with you today. Have you just been living for yourself, where everything's for you? You're going to die and take everything with you in the grave, bruh. And then you're going to go either heaven or hell if you believe in Jesus. And congratulations, you didn't do much when you were here on earth. But that can change because you can actually make a decision to make an impact. So that's what motivates me, that someone will listen to the show and then be challenged and then encouraged to go deeper in their faith. So without further ado, here we go. Drum roll, please. We're going to the giveaway time. As I mentioned, I got these. If you're like, man, there was a giveaway and I was never part of that, bro, follow me on Instagram, The Andrew Ramon Show. Come on. Almost daily content, behind the scenes, even giveaways sometimes. You could have won these. I'm just saying. But if you did enter, you know that every tag was an entry. And I saw some of you trying so hard, man. You tagged like 130 people. That was quite impressive. So what did I do? I took all the entries, I submitted them, every single entry into to a random generator to select the winner. So here goes. Drum roll, please. And the winner is... Oh, wait. The suspense. I'm sorry. I know I'm killing you. I'm killing you with suspense. I gotta get my game show. Welcome, everybody, to the Andrew Roman Show. We're having a giveaway, and here we go. The winner of this giveaway is... Drum roll, please. I don't know how to say your name. Totally. Karina Michelle. Oh, Karina. There you go. Karina Michelle. Congratulations. You have won the newest 3rd generation AirPods for you. Congratulations. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being part of this, Karina, because you just won some AirPods. I'll give you a shout and reach out to you. Make sure that you get these, and we'll post proof on the socials so people know that this wasn't, in fact, a scam. Congratulations. Folks, 2022 is right around the corner. I cannot believe it, but the choice is yours. The choice of how you define the rest of your life can start today. You can live a life of impact. You don't necessarily have to start a podcast. Every single person, at least statistically speaking, influences about 400 people throughout their life. Even the most introverted person you can believe in. You're like, I never speak to anyone. You're still an influence. You can, in fact, live a life of influence, and you already are. The question is, are you an influence for the better or for the worse? I hope it's for the better. And the choice is yours. Here we go, 2022. Thank you so much for watching the Andrew Roman Show. Great things to come. We'll see you next year.